What's good, YouTube? It's me, your boy Scotty, back in another video. Today we're going to show you guys a couple of branded tips and tricks that I've been just playing around with. The deck is still really impressive, and I think actually the Gimmick Puppet lock is a big deal that you would want to play this deck just for that, because I feel like even though it's a little bit win more, I feel like there are a lot of matchups that you actually need it. For example, the mirror match, even if you have a full board, they can still play through a lot of your cards as long as they're able to resolve their own branded fusion, whereas having Puppet just like ends the game on the spot against a lot of decks, and it could just be really easy way to still set up even though you get hand trapped a jillion times. So yeah, I'll show you guys this first little combo. It's sort of like a 2.5 card combo, but this is like a way to play around Nib and also set up the Gimmick Puppet lock, because a lot of people are actually playing Nibiru. Before we dive into the video, we're actually doing a little partnership with GGDUELIST, aka Golden Goose Duelist, who are the makers of these amazingly sleek oversleeves. Guys, this is a really yummy product, especially if you're in the realm of TCGs and you are wanting to up your game. But seriously, these are some really cool sleeves. They're 100% transparent and feature a gorgeous border design around the rim, and they are PVC and acid free, so hopefully no starving children were hurt over the course of making these. As you can see, my card just slides right in there, so they're very sleekly designed and to the proper measurements, so no struggle getting those in. And these are perfect for your extra side or even main deck if you want to make it look a little prettier. And it does not obscure the attack or defense, meaning that they are legal for play. You can also use these on the back side of your extra deck sleeves to make them look a little more flashier than they already are. The beautiful border also features a female sorceress whose resemblance to a titular character in the main show shall not be commented upon for copyright reasons. I've left the link below to the GG Duelist page where you guys can use Squiddy for 5% off your order. Any orders that you make will definitely contribute to supporting the channel, so thanks a lot, guys. Other than that, let's get back to the video. So I'm going to show you guys really quick. Fusion Deployment and Aluber, and then a discard. It could also be any combination of Aluber, Cartesia, and or Branded Opening. So typically you're going to probably see this pretty easily going first. It can be a lot of combination of cards, but we're going to go ahead and activate Fusion Deployment, revealing Cartesia, or rather Guarenteed, so we can get to Cartesia. And then from here, we're going to normal summon the Aluber and then search the Branded Fusion. And this combo is a little bit intricate, but it's all for the purpose of playing around Nibiru so that you don't make Sanctifier Dragon on your turn, you don't get blown out by Nib, so you're not guaranteed to be able to special summon that back. Because now that Branded Expulsion is banned, we have to rely on Sanctifier in order to reborn that Gimmick Puppet and give it control to our opponent. So from here, we're actually going to go ahead and activate the Branded Fusion, and then we are going to dump the copy of Fallen Valbaz as well as the Bestial Lubellion, which is going to give us access to our Branded Lost in a second here. We're going to go ahead and summon out the Albion, the Branded Dragon, and use the effect to banish Albaz as well as the Aluber, and then go into our Lubellion. So typical plays that you guys already probably know about. And then we're going to use the Searing Dragon's effect to discard that last card in our hand to conduct a fusion summon. But right here, we're actually going to chain the effect of Blazing Cartesia and then fuse the Lubellion and the Cartesia itself into the Grand Guino. And then we're going to resolve that effect, giving us the access to Mirror Jade by shuffling back that Lubellion as well as the Fallen Valbaz to summon a Mirror Jade. And then from here, I've been liking to put this in defense mode just to play around things like Lightning Storm, which are actually back in the metagame for some reason. But you can also put it in attack so it doesn't get swung over by like a Unicorn plus field spell or threatened to that extent. And then from here, we're going to, on a new chain, actually activate the effect of Grand Guino. Now, instead of dumping the Puppet, which would be a lot of people's go-to here, I think it's actually better to dump the Despian Lulu Walleth, and I'll show you guys why in a second here. So now we are going to tribute off the Albion on the field to summon back our Bestial Lubellion and then use the effect to put on Branded Lost. Now guys, bear in mind, anytime we get nibbed here, it doesn't really matter as much. We're going to be able to activate the Mirror Jade effect in the graveyard to pop their nib, and we're also going to have some follow-up. We're going to have Lulu Walleth as well as Albion, the Branded Dragon, on their turn, so it's not like we're at the end of the world. Whereas if we were going for Sanctifier and we got nibbed here, it might hurt a lot more because we invested a lot of resources to go into that play, and we wouldn't have these cards in the graveyard for recursion. So now that we're here at this moment, what we're actually going to do is in our turn, assuming we don't have any other plays, this is just like assuming that we just have those couple of cards, and then in the end phase we are going to use the effect of Albion to set a Branded in red, and then we are also going to use the effect of the Despian Lulu Walleth, which allows us to special summon something from our deck that is a Spellcaster Light Monster whose attack equals its own defense. So in this case, we're actually going to special summon the copy of the Guiding Quem. Alternatively, you could also send the Titaniclad instead, and then that way you'll have something to banish for the Grand Guino. So just so you know there, and then you can summon the Despian Lulu Walleth to your table. So either of those works. And then we're actually going to use the effect of Guiding Quem to dump a copy of the Fallen of Albaz. This is really important because you do need a target for the Branded in red. You need a Despia or a Fallen of Albaz in the graveyard, which we did not have prior to this. And we're actually not going to go ahead and add back the Blazing Cartesia. Instead, we're going to end our turn. And then on our opponent's turn, when they enter the main phase, assuming they start off their action by summoning a monster, what we can actually do here is use the effect of Mirror Jade to banish that monster by sending a copy of any card. Generally, I would like to send follow-up, so maybe either Titanic Clad or Albion here, probably Albion. You could also send the Rinbrum, but we're not going to have the Fallen of Albaz in the graveyard guaranteed if Branded in red resolves. So we're just going to send the Albion here for now, I think. And then we're going to banish the monster. And then on new chain, we're going to use the effect of Guiding Quem to reborn the Cartesia. So we're going to reborn that to our table. And then immediately, if our opponent passes priority, what we can actually do in the closed game state here is go ahead and activate the effect of Cartesia, rather, not Quem. And then we're going to fuse off the Cartesia and the Grand Guino to make another copy of Grand Guino. And then from here, we're going to go Chainlink 1 Grand Guino, Chainlink 2 Branded Lost. And because our Blazing Cartesia was Chainlink 1, they're not going to be able to respond on the resolution because Lost is in effect. A lot of people don't realize that your fusion effects have to be Chainlink 1 in order to prevent your opponent from responding. If they're Chainlink 2 or higher, then your opponent can still respond because the last thing that happened was whatever was on Chainlink 1 and not the actual fusion. Okay, and now from here, we are going to be able to search our copy of Mercurier, which is going to protect us from cards like the Bystials, cards like Ghost Bell, and then we're going to resolve the effect of Grand Guino, actually allowing us to dump the Gimmick Puppet. So this is really neat because their opponent doesn't really see it coming either. They think that we're just going to the standard Branded board, but boom, out of nowhere, we're going to actually Puppet Lock them. And then again, on the closed game state here, if they don't have anything, we are actually going to use the effect of Branded Lost and target the copy of Fallen of Albaz. Obviously, they're not going to be able to negate with Ghost Spell because we have Branded Lost, and any Bystials or anything for that matter, we can actually negate with Mercurier, so we have that added layer of protection. We're going to add back the Branded Fallen of Albaz with Branded in red, and then we're going to also Fusion Summon right here, and we're going to use the Guiding Quem, which is actually a spellcaster, as well as the Fallen of Albaz, which allows us to get the Sanctifier out. So that's Fallen of Albaz plus any light monster. And because Branded and Lost was Chainlink 1, or Branded in red rather, they're going to be protected under Lost, so they're not going to be able to respond here on the summon. And as it's a quick effect, so on a closed game state, we can still use the effect of Albion, so this cannot be interacted with because of the fact that Branded in red was Chainlink 1 on the resolution. So we are going to guarantee that Puppet actually gets summoned, and then we can summon something else to our board, whether that's the Albion or the Grand Guino or whatever we want. Basically, the game would be over by here because our opponent's not going to be able to respond to any of that. Based on the fact that we also have Mercurier to protect on that Branded red target. Once that resolves, then we can use the effect of Albion, Sanctifier Dragon, summon back the Puppet. So we're basically home free to Puppet Lock them. So yeah, guys, just make sure you're being very creative, taking advantage of Lost in order to guarantee that you're able to resolve the Gimmick Puppet Nightmare. I see a lot of players like going for that Gimmick Puppet no matter what, but it just dies to a lot of things like Called by the Grave, Ghost Spell, Bystials, a lot of things in the format's really easily for them to get rid of. So you have to play in a way that you can resolve this under Lost to guarantee that you are not losing any advantage and not just punting the game on the spot by investing all your resources into trying to summon that given puppet only to get hit by like a Bystial. I think a lot of people are actually underestimating the power of NADIR Servant. It's kind of been a forgotten card, and this card is actually at 3 again. What it does is you send a monster from your extra deck, then you add a copy of a Dogmatica monster or a Fallen of Albaz from your deck or graveyard to your hand, but you're locked from your extra deck for the rest of the turn. However, it gives you rotation to your Fallen of Albaz, which is a card you actually want in your hand in tandem with Blazing Cartesia nowadays, because you can actually play on your opponent's turn and go into your Fallen of Albaz cards, your powerful fusion monsters like Mirror Jade, Sanctifier, so on and so forth, when you're under Ash and you can't play. This card is just a follow-up that allows you to do so. Unfortunately, it's a little bad against Kashira going second because you have to send to the graveyard and then Arise Heart kind of banishes everything. So maybe this is a card you want to side out or in that matchup specifically going second. But I think the metagame is diverse enough that this card is actually a very powerful spell that allows you to extend your plays, allows you to get Cartesia access by dumping either the Despian Lulu Walleth or the copy of the Titanic Clad, which will allow you to summon Quem and then dump the Blazing Cartesia and revive it back with Quem. So I just think this is a decent card. And in this case, I'll show you guys a cool little combo. Even if you only have Blazing Cartesia and NADIR Servant, what you can actually do is still activate the copy of NADIR Servant, which will allow you to start your plays here in this case. So if DV will stop lagging, what we're going to do here is actually dump, I guess in this case, Titanic Clad. We want to keep the Lulu Walleth in the deck just in case we can summon it off of the Granguino banishing itself because it actually is a Despian monster in the extra deck. And then from here, we're going to add a copy of Fallen Malbaz. So this puts our Fallen Malbaz in a rotation. And then what happens in the end phase, you can actually use the effect of Titaniclad to special summon the Quem, which counts as a Dogmatica or a Despia card, and then use the effect of Quem to Foolish a card. In this case, I think we're going to go ahead and Foolish another copy of the Blazing Cartesia. And then still in the end phase, obviously you can use the effect of the Cartesia to add itself back. And then from here, you kind of have a setup. Alternatively, if you want to play around Imperm in the draw or standby phase, you could also keep that Cartesia in the graveyard. So that way, when they Imperm your first Cartesia, you can have the Quem to summon back the second copy of the Cartesia to continue playing after they link or go into their extra deck. But I'll show you guys generically what I mean by this. So let's say we pass our turn and our opponent goes into main phase. Their main phase, after they assume the first action, because they're the turn player, so they get priority in a open and closed game state, we can actually use the effect of Cartesia after they pass priority to us by initiating an action, whether they summon a monster, set a card, activate a card, so on and so forth. And then from here, what we can actually do is start playing, right? Like you can use the effect of Cartesia plus like a Fallen Malbaz and then start playing here, which is really, really cool because you get to do stuff on their turn. So we can go obviously into the Mirror Jade line here. We can go to Granguino to start dumping cards. Golden Cloud-based Malong is really cool because it makes Granguino a potential disrupt on their turn. Like you're able to dump that and then bounce back a card using the effect because it happens to be a level 6 light. Alternatively, you could go to Albion the Branded Dragon here because it's a light and Fallen Malbaz. And then from here, you can banish the Titaniclad and then the Fallen Malbaz to summon out your Mirror Jade. So then you instantly already have that Mirror Jade line. And then Guiding Quem actually activates also to bring back the Cartesia. Unfortunately, it's only once per turn, so it's just like a free body. But the other thing is Quem can also bring back these fusions because they mentioned Fallen Malbaz. So if you ever have a Mirror Jade that was successfully special summoned, you can actually bring it back off of the Quem as well. So that's another cool thing you can do. Obviously, you can also go into Sanctifier Dragon here, having that Buzz in your hand. Or if you have another way, like a Branded Red or something already to make the Sanctifier after, you can just go into the Gimmick Puppet lock by making Granguino and then dumping the Puppet, right? So these are all really cool options that you guys all have access to in this deck specifically. And using Quem, obviously, if they summon a monster that's fusionable, if you have like 2500 or more attack, potentially you could have done Titaniclad, or you could, if you play Sprint as well, you can summon that with this effect monster and Fallen Malbaz, because then Quem will activate to bring back the Fallen Malbaz. You can use the Fallen Malbaz effect to discard, fusion off with their monster, and then Fallen Malbaz go into something of your own. And then from there, you can proceed to have the Sanctified Dragon on top of everything to start bringing back your cards, right? So just really, really cool things right there. Alternatively, you could have held the Quem and not use the effect, and then you have Sanctifier Dragon later to bring back the Fallen Malbaz, and then give them the Cartesia to their side of the field, and then you can use the effect of Fallen Malbaz, discard a card, use the Blazing Cartesia that's on their field to make the copy of Albion the Branded Dragon, and then use the effect to banish the Ash Dragon as well as Mirror Jade to give you a copy of a Mirror Jade, banishing the Titaniclad rather. So you're getting like a lot of value basically off one Cartesia and a Nadir Servant. So it's just really, really cool lines that you guys can definitely experiment with in addition to the Gimmick Puppet lock. And especially giving them a monster in the Cashier matchup is especially important in my opinion, because then they can't special summon unless they have Birth, and then you have the Mirror Jade to clear that Birth monster that is special summoned back. So yeah, that's about it for the video. If you guys have any other tips with this deck, definitely leave a comment below. But I encourage you guys to think how to puppet lock and how to play this deck in a way that you can take advantage of your cards, especially Branded Lost, so your opponent cannot respond, because a lot of cards are responsive in this current metagame, like the Bystials and Ghost Spell, and that's typically the reason that this deck would lose going second in addition to Ash. So as long as you guys can play around those defensive options, then you're guaranteed pretty much to win as long as you're able to play going first with this deck, in my opinion. So yeah, to give you guys a good concept of what I'm talking about, this is a deck idea I threw together in like 5 minutes. It's not perfect by any means, but this is how I would approach Branded, because I feel like resolving Branded fusion is very important. If you get Ash, you can still play with this deck with the addition of multiple Cartesias through like the Cartesia All-Baz play and Nadir Servants. That's why we play 3 Fallen Malbaz, because it's really quick that we run out of them, and we do require them in the deck for Nadir Servant, or to hard draw and then just play with Cartesia so we can go into our fusions. The one thing is, you might notice we're not playing Retribution. I just don't feel like those cards are very good. It's just another card that you don't really want to draw. They don't contribute to your deck's central engine. You don't need them by any means to play, which is why we're also playing Magma over Sarner, so we still have a target for Lubellion if we happen to brick on it, and it just allows us to special search a copy of Fallen Malbaz in the end phase because he is a dragon. The problem with this deck, I think, functionally, is when they have a board and they have Ash. It's just very hard because you get Ash on Random Fusion and the rest of your engine's just not enough. Even like a Fenrir sometimes hurts. So you definitely have to play some non-engine to accommodate for that. I think Ash and Nib are decent. Nib is decent because a lot of times the Kashtira, they're not going to be aroused passing because that's just not enough against this deck. Like sometimes you can still clear that even if they get Ashed. So they do have to put like Fenrir and Bodies on board. So Nib's almost certainly live if they know what they're doing. And then the tactics with the Fusion Duplication, just like a cool concept. Having the talents as well to rip a card and potentially continue your plays is really, really cool. I think Cartesia should be a 3-up because this is one of the best normal summons in this deck that you can possibly afford to do. It plays around multiple cards. It plays around Emperor and Baylor and allows you to play on your opponent's turn too. You don't have to use this card specifically to fuse by itself. You could fuse other 2 monsters from your hand as well. So leaving it on the table on the follow-up, you can on their turn either make the Grand Guino or like the Sanctifier Dragon to continue and try to puppet lock. It's really, really nice. And like we mentioned in the combos, trying to use a Branded Lost to protect your plays, making sure that your Branded in red, your Cartesia are always on Chain Link 1. So then on the successful resolution on your Fusion Summon, they can't respond with anything. So it guarantees that our effects are going through. It guarantees that we're going to be able to puppet lock if we chain the effect of Sanctifier Dragon in that summoning window to target the puppet to bring it back. So yeah, just like cool little things there to note of. Eradicator I still think is really, really good against a lot of decks in the metagame, against a mirror match, against opposing decks, even against Castor. They play a lot of spell cards. A lot of people are setting in spells to beat this deck too, right? So just having answers to those, just wiping their entire lineup, wiping out traps against Labyrinth, this is just like a really ideal card. And it's a lot easier because you have 3 Cartesia, so you can easily make a Grand Guino, which has 2,500. And yeah, I think the extra deck's quite standard. Titaniclad and Lulu Wallace are really required in order to go into your Quem and your plays to puppet lock and protect from Nib. And I think Sprint might be needed as well, so definitely experiment as well. I don't know, the extra deck is very, very tight. As you can see, we might have to make some concessions here, maybe playing 1 Graguino or like cutting Malong entirely. But I think 2 Graguino is actually required to play around Nibiru and puppet lock them on their turn, so you don't get Nibiru on the Sanctifier Dragon, which feels really, really bad because this is probably not coming back, right? Unless you have like a Quem to resurrect it. So yeah, that's about all I had for the video. If you guys had any more thoughts, definitely let me know, because I think this is a lot of fun. This deck is underappreciated. It's one of the most powerful engines in the entire game, and it's overshadowed by the fact that Ash and D-Barrier and Gravely the Super Ancient Organism exist. But when it plays, it's definitely one of the most powerful houses to beat. So yeah, that's about it. I'll see you guys next time.